Thinking about buying a brand new home, but not sure where to start? Feeling overwhelmed? Whether you're eyeing a move-in ready spec home or dreaming up a custom build from the ground up, today's video is packed with expert insight straight from a local builder. We're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to buy new construction, what to watch for, how to stay on budget, and the insider tips that can save you time, money, and stress. If you're looking to learn more about the vibrant life and communities in and around Kansas City, you've come to the right place. I'm Payne, your local realtor and community enthusiast, here to give you the inside scoop on everything from the hidden gems of our neighborhoods to the bustling market trends. I get calls, texts, DMs, and emails every day from people just like you who are looking for help to make a move to Kansas City, and I absolutely love it. Whether you're buying, selling, or building in 1 week or 1 year, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send an email so that I can help you make a smooth move to Kansas City. Today, we are exploring the ins and outs of new construction. Let's dive in. I'm with Mike Reilly of Reilly Homes. They've been building new homes in the Leavenworth County area and beyond since 1972. And the Reilly company is celebrating 100 years this year, right?
Right.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know you're proud.
Super excited.
Today, we are going to ask the 10 most common questions that people have that are buying new builds. So let's jump right in. What's the difference between a spec home and a custom build?
Yeah, great question, Katie. Thanks for having me. First of all, a spec home, from a builder's perspective, is any home that they are planning on starting for their inventory. So, for us at Reilly Homes, we'll start anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 spec homes at any one point in time. So it could happen along the way, whether it's from, foundations or framing to mechanical stages or final stages. If the builder is already moving forward with that build, it's considered what we call a spec house. So we're building it anyway without even a buyer potentially coming during the build process. A pure custom home is just that. It is 100% designed for the client with the client's wishes, and it's a custom home designed for that particular family. So we or any other builder from a custom perspective wouldn't necessarily start that home without that homeowner.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so from our perspective, we do a lot of spec home building ourselves just because it does take, from a home building perspective, anywhere from 10 to 12 months to build a home of this kind of size and quality. So, a lot of people don't have that kind of time to wait. And so, for a home like this, we put a lot of our basic features in, but then we put a lot of unique features in as well.
So what is included in the base price and what counts as upgrades?
So that's a great question. It's going to vary builder by builder and could be community by community and subdivision by subdivision. So that is just a great question to really dive in and ask the builder or work with your agent to make that determination. Every builder is going to be 100% completely different. A lot of builders include everything that you see, sometimes in spec homes, and then a lot of builders view all of those nice things that you see sometimes as upgrades. And so those are really specific questions that we really encourage a buyer and or with their buyer's agent to sit down and go through with the builder and their representative exactly what's included, not only on the front side of the house facing us, like the carpet and the tile and the granite and all the nice things that we see, but possibly more importantly, behind the wall, what's included, right? From an insulation standpoint, from a framing standpoint, from a mechanical standpoint. There are so many options. And what you'll find is sometimes builders, price a house off the bare basic and then add extras along the way for everything. So you really just want to dive in, ask great questions, and go really start to finish through the house so that you know what is included and what isn't.
So when a buyer goes into a new development and they look at the model home, there's a really good chance that in that model home, there's a lot of upgrades that the builder's done. And so they may fall in love with the model home, but they need to recognize that a lot of those things may be upgrades.
100%, 100%, especially in model homes. All of us builders like to show what's possible out there in the world of new home construction. And so we do add a lot of extras. And so I think that's a great point, especially when you're touring models, to really ask those detailed questions as far as, is this all included in the base price, or what is the extra list that would add to the base price of the home?
So you kind of touched on this already, but how long does it take from start to finish to build a home?
Yeah, so from our perspective, and again, every builder will probably be a little bit different. Certainly there are some considerations in our market, here in the Midwest as far as weather goes and timing of those starts with winter and all those good things. But I would tell you, by and large, it's anywhere from 10 months to about 12 months.
Okay.
And again, some factors play into that. We typically don't start homes in the middle of winter here. Hard to pour foundations in that time frame. So, as long as you can kind of get your foundation in the fall or spring time frame, you're probably looking at a 10 to 12 month build cycle.
Gotcha. Are there hidden costs in new construction, for example, lot premiums, landscaping, appliances that affect that price?
Yes, could be. Again, I think those are conversations that you really want to just have a really good understanding of, and have those conversations with the builder and their representative when you're talking about going under contract. Again, every builder is going to be completely different as far as what they include in their pricing and what they don't, and what they consider extras. So all of those things come into play, whether it's a premium for a specific lot, whether it's landscaping, sprinkler system. One of the things that we provide from a from a spec home perspective in all of our homes is a humidifier on our HVAC system. It's kind of a small item. People don't think about it, but it does provide important aspects to the mechanical system of the house. But most builders view that as an extra. So it's those kind of, intricate details that I think you really want to dive in and ask great questions, know exactly what you're getting and what your allowances are for things like landscaping, carpet, tile, granite, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, so that where you stand in terms of cost.
So do you have a tip for buyers that if they're getting a custom home, especially, of how to stay in budget with all of those moving pieces?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the best scenarios that we have ever been involved with from a custom house perspective, or even somebody that buys a spec house, maybe mid-construction, is to once again take the time to sit down, really have those lengthy discussions as far as what you want in the house and what's included, right? Because a lot of times those are totally different. So, we always tell everybody, we can do anything in the new home construction world. We can heat all the floors in the house. We can hang
the driveway.
We can heat the driveway. We can hang granite on the walls. But everything comes with a cost, right? And so it's important, I think, just to really ask great questions. And when you think about a new home, it starts really from the dig process all the way through finish, because some builders even, from a custom home perspective, will have extra costs involved if they dig your foundation and hit things like rock or silt or have issues in that. So, again, having those conversations with every aspect and every step of the new home process is critical to know, so you understand where your potential overages might come from.
Is there a percentage that you recommend buyers that they're going to go over, just plan on going over this amount? Is there kind of a percentage guideline that you have?
That's a great question. I mean, from my perspective, when I meet with homeowners, I always tell them to set aside 5 to 10% of what the new home cost is for potential overages. Again, when we build a custom home for somebody, many, many times it's the first time that anyone has seen that house come out of the ground. It's the first time that floor plan's been built. And many times we get into a situation where somebody says, hey, can we move that wall? Can we do this? And the answer, again, is always, we can pretty much do anything, but everything comes with a cost.
Yeah.
And so, if you're looking at, let's just say, a $500,000 build, if you can reserve or mentally reserve somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000 for overages, extras, I think that just helps protect you, so that at the end of the day, you're really getting the home you wanted. And if you do make some changes along the way and say, hey, we want to go from granite to quartz, what's that going to cost? And if you really want quartz, you should get quartz, right?
Right.
But it could be a potential overage. So I think between 5 and 10% is a great rule of thumb. And again, make sure you just have all those conversations up front. Ask for everything up front that you think you might want to get priced, so that you kind of know a worst case scenario,
Okay.
potentially, and then you can possibly back off some things.
Yeah. So does a new buyer or a buyer of a new construction need a home inspection for their new build?
That's a great question. And I think that's, something that every buyer and buyer's agent kind of struggles with. And it's really up to the buyer, and it's up to their agent, their representative. And many times it comes down to how they feel maybe about the home builder, or the process of. So as we build any new home, obviously there are many checkpoints that we have to go through with the municipality or their jurisdiction involved, with building permits to inspections. Many times there's going to be 5 or 6 or 7 different inspections of the home that we're building from the municipality. So I think there's no right or wrong answer here. We've had some buyers that say, absolutely, I'm getting an inspection, and we have no problem with that. I don't think many builders do. We also have had many buyers that say, yeah, I'm not going to spend the $500 or $600 because I'm comfortable with the process. I've seen it potentially go through all the stages, and I know you've been inspected from the city. So no right or wrong answer there. I think it comes down to the buyer and the buyer's agent, what they feel is appropriate.
Okay. Well, what kind of warranty comes with the new build?
Yeah, great question too. You're going to see that vary builder to builder. Some builders don't provide any warranty. Some builders will provide a 1-year written warranty, and some builders actually will go further and beyond that to a fully insured written 2-year mechanical warranty, and possibly like a 10-year structural warranty. So ask that question of your builder. Find out what kind of obligations that they are going to have for you, and what their process is over that warranty period for you to submit issues. It's probably one of the most critical things for, I think, a buyer to recognize and to understand what that builder is going to warranty after they close.
Right. One thing with my new construction buyers that I mark in my calendar at about the 10-month mark and say, okay, you're coming up on your year. If you want to hire an inspector at that point in time, you could bring one in and take a look, or be aware that your year warranty 100%. Is coming to a close. And
100%. Yeah, and again, that ties back to if the builder provides the 1-year warranty.
Yes, right.
And if they're responsive to those kind of issues being brought up at that time. But yes, from our perspective at Reilly Homes, that's a great scenario where at 10 months, we do provide that 1-year builder warranty. In many cases with our custom homes, we do the 2-year mechanical and 10-year structural as well. But to your point is, I think, at the 10-month mark, we don't find it offensive at all from a builder perspective for the buyer to bring in an inspection report that says, hey, here's 4, 5, 6 items that we feel need some adjustment.
Yeah. So can a buyer negotiate the price or incentives with the builder, or is it, this is the price and bottom line?
Another great question. I would tell you, market by market, time of market, varies, builder by builder varies. There's no right or wrong answer in real estate, right? I think everything is negotiable. At the same time, I will tell you from a builder perspective, from a spec home process, I think most builders price their spec homes, their inventory homes, with some negotiation room, right, in them. Not every builder, but many of them do. From a pure custom standpoint, however, I will tell you that probably most builders don't do that, right? If we're going to build you a custom home that's designed for you and your family, coming out of the ground, brand new for you, then the price is probably the price because that builder is factoring in what it's going to cost, what their overhead is, and what their profit needs to be to build that project for you. But again, any inventory homes, I would anticipate most builders having some sort of flexibility in there for pricing. And a lot will depend, again, if the builder's sitting on any inventory, or if they're out of inventory. Maybe they're not as open to negotiations.
Yeah. So this is a question a lot of buyers have. Should they use a preferred lender of the builder, or should they shop around?
I think there's no right or wrong answer here. I would tell you, I think from a preferred builder standpoint, there certainly could be some advantages to that depending on the relationship, right? I think for me, the key is from a builder perspective and also looking at a lot of buyers' closing costs is to make that determination really case by case from a lender perspective, from a rate perspective and the product that the buyer is going for, but then also the closing costs, right, associated with that particular loan. So, some regional and national builders that are now coming into the Kansas City marketplace are many times tied to lenders, and they really push you getting the mortgage through them because it is another profit center for that builder in the event that you do that. More local builders don't necessarily have that type of relationship. It's more of a shop around type of feature. But again, probably no right or wrong answer. Just know, I think, the critical aspects of the type of loan you're getting, the rate, and at the end of the day, the closing costs that you're going to be asked to, come to the table with.
So what should a buyer look out for during the construction process?
I would probably say during the construction process, a couple things you want to look out for. First of all, is you want to make sure your project is continuing kind of on the timeline that was expected. There's certainly going to be some potential delays there. But if your project literally stalls for 30, 60, 75 days, then you've got a problem, all right? And so I would say, just to kind of wrap that up, it's probably more of big time communication from the builder. If the builder's communicating with you that, okay, we might be delayed 30 days because of whatever reason, then at least and you're comfortable with where the project's headed.
Right.
But if the builder stops that communication and kind of disappears on you and you're not seeing your project advance, that would really raise some red flags for me.
In your opinion, as a builder, why should buyers work with a buyer's agent, somebody that's representing them in the process when they're going in to buy a new construction home?
Yeah, I think, buying a new construction home is really no different than sometimes buying a resale. So having your own representation, to me, many times makes a ton of sense. At the same time, I do think buyer's agents need to recognize that they need to get trained on new homes because it is a little bit of a different process. I would say, from a representation standpoint, I think it would be beneficial for most buyers to have their representation, but also recognize that, from a new home builder perspective, you're going to flow into their process. You're going to flow into what they typically do for their closings and different things. And so I think that buyer's agent, as long as they have some knowledge about new homes, would be a benefit to a buyer.
Mm-hmm. And one thought that came to my mind, since I am a buyer's agent for a lot of military families that are buying and they're not here. Right. So to have somebody with boots on the ground where I can check in on their behalf and communicate if they are out of the country, which many of my clients are, or just even out of state. So
yeah, it's critical to have those eyes
right.
here locally that you can communicate back what's going on a weekly or semi-weekly basis. Yeah.
What's one insider tip that you wish every buyer knew before starting the process?
I would say, I guess maybe the biggest tip is to overly communicate with each other from a buyer perspective, because I can't tell you the amount of times that we've had clients, a husband and wife, and the husband thinks one thing's happening and the wife thinks something else is happening, and the builder's somewhat in the middle of that discussion. And so I think over communication on the part of the buyers, right, amongst themselves, with their agent, and then with the builder as well. To me, that is what really makes the whole project the most successful it can be. When we all know what's expected of each other, when we all really have a good game plan, when we've gone through everything from start to finish, what's expected, that is where a successful build comes into play.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I appreciate your time and thanks for meeting me. And we're in this gorgeous home in Amber Meadows. What is one of your favorite things about this particular house?
Yeah, so this house was, again, a brand new floor plan for us. It's, on 2.5 acres. It's in Amber Meadows. To me, it's kind of a unique floor plan in the sense that it's all built on a slab. But the really cool feature of this, there's two, I think, that are awesome. There's a giant 4-car garage for that couple that might have hobby cars, or, the husband wants a shop or the wife wants a hobby space. And inside that giant 4-car garage, there is a FEMA approved full storm shelter that's built into the walls. So it's really kind of a cool feature. And you're sitting out here in the middle of God's country on 2.5 acres, peaceful living in a brand new, beautiful, true ranch.
Great. Well, again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Love it. Thanks, Miss Katie.
Whether you're dreaming of a fully custom home or ready to walk into a beautiful spec build, understanding the new construction process is key to making smart decisions. A big thank you to Mike with Reilly Homes for sharing his expertise. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments. I'm here to help you navigate every step of the home buying journey. And as always, if you're ready to explore new construction in the Kansas City or Fort Leavenworth area, I'd love to be your guide. See you soon.